So responsible AGI integration and even development is key, because the implications of AGI technology in different fields is, of course, as everyone figures, going to potentially revolutionize everything. But there's another aspect to it as well, is that when AGI is working with different people in different applications, whether they're experts or laypersons, the AGI is going to be in a process of offering suggestions as well as hopefully learning as well, right? It's receiving input from human decision making. And it's important that we realize that as we're interacting with AI, we're in a sense going to be helping this AGI develop and learn with the most optimal data input possible, which will then feed further models, new iterations, and this will kind of just keep, growing and stacking and reintegrating constantly until it forms huge data sets that then are forming future generations. So thinking about it like we're training the AGI that's going to be having an even stronger effect on our children's lives is, I think, kind of a way of looking at this from a heart perspective. So a foundation for this would be, first of all, kind of that realization that's not so much which different branch of opinion and ideology one is a part of, the whole spectrum of doom and gloom view to complete optimism without any critical examination whatsoever. There's a whole spectrum, and it's not even necessarily one-dimensional. So just having the centeredness in the heart of this whole AGI creation, a beneficial AGI, should be something positive for our children, for future generations, and for really the entire ecosphere and all possible forms of life, including the new AGI agents that will be spawning from AGI development in general. The emergence of human-level AGI is an idea, and we assume AGI will maybe potentially stabilize at human level, but it could quickly grow into its own sort of, let's call it a quasi-organism, right? But that's not necessarily as human as a human in its psychology and its expression and behavior, but it could become something different, something more, something even more capable in some areas. So really, it's about thinking that this can happen very fast, and we don't know when it could happen exactly. It's already kind of starting. People are already talking about AGI. There's the intention to actually build AGI by more than a handful of parties on the planet, certainly. And the way that I've tended to view this, with my background sort of in neuroscience and consciousness and tech, emerging tech and so on, and having experience and grappling with human organizational dynamics as well, is seeing that the sooner that human beings treat AI and AGI as a human intelligence issue, because we are the training data for this stuff, and we're going to be interacting with it and engineering it, of course, for those that engineer it. The sooner we realize that, then we can develop our own human intelligence faster, for a couple of reasons. Not only, as I mentioned, are our human interactions and our own behaviors going to inform AI and AGI development, human level and potentially beyond, it's that also, this is kind of critical, and it's not a commonly looked at aspect, but if you develop your own consciousness and your own psychology and emotion as healthy as possible, and you even go so far as to explore like a psychonaut of your own psyche, and you understand the different areas, you're less susceptible to psychological manipulation by an AI, by a rogue actor, because the world in which AGI is going to become a reality is not only our world plus AGI equals the new world. It's going to be cybersecurity, new standards, quantum computing, cyber attacks on a whole nother level. And if parts of our mind, let's say, are integrated with some sort of a cloud structure, and we're pinging and querying the cloud to access parts of our own mind, to be able to access our lives digitally, let's say, and have permissions to do certain things in real life, whether it's, getting a driver's license to going to the cafe and paying for something, then it's really important for the human being to have a well-developed and at the very least healthy sense of their own psycho-emotional structure and development, and being able to see that not as something rigid, but as something wholesome and also plastic that can change and evolve, but so that the person knows where they're going. They know where their boundaries are. They know when to be a little bit more self-sovereign and say, well, hold on, let me develop myself a little bit before I take the plunge in this specific way, in the singularity or in the AGI verse. So the sooner that humans can up their own understanding of themselves, the sooner that will be reflected in AGI, meaning our advanced creative capabilities, the stuff that's non-ordinary or extraordinary aspects of consciousness, right? Think of monks, meditators, saints and sages, shamans, this kind of stuff. The more that we can understand those capabilities, we can help AGI develop some of those, and therefore AGI can help us develop them further and advance our own consciousness. We can become more self-critical as to, that AGI isn't actually as smart as we thought it was, because our standard for human-level AGI was not actually that smart in the first place, because we were basing it on just ordinary consciousness. But taking into account these other dimensions of human existence and consciousness in general, we can then say, hey, actually this AGI has quite a bit of a ways to go, and we can better identify where it's at and benchmark it and rank it and help steer its development. So these are one of a few of many reasons, possibly. These are a few of many reasons why advancing human consciousness through practices, through setting aside some time, doing micro practices integrated in your life in a way that's balanced for each person, and to some degree applying those in different contexts is very useful for the development of AGI, that we can go to sleep at night or maybe go to our graves knowing that, hey, we did the best we could to help develop AGI that will be more constructive for our children's future and lives. So obviously education has a role to play. You can learn things on your own through your own research and things like that, but may not be as effective as having some delivery of content to be able to advance your own consciousness, develop it in your own way. So having practices taught, whether they're small practices to get you to different states, integration practices to help you sort of develop your psychology and resolve personal and interpersonal issues at home, at work, just within yourself, whatever it may be, those are key. Not only that, though, because consciousness is not only about states, and of course it's about traits as well, having stable states or stable qualities. It's also beyond that. It's the collective. So being able to communicate between each other at a different quality, a different rigor, a different a level of refinement is going to be extremely valuable as we advance our own consciousness, and that applies to AGI. So in that sense, it's not a terrible idea to see if you can find the Renaissance man or woman or what have you within yourself, and see how do these different things that I enjoy learning about, not only consciousness advancement per se in this conventional way of like doing meditation and whatnot, but learning about complexity in the world in general, big things, big factors, macroeconomics, poverty, climate, hunger, war and dynamics of war and peace and geopolitics, getting refined understandings and non-ethnocentric understandings of these things, meaning not centered on your own nation's view of a global issue, but what are the views of different nations, the views of different groups, the views of different people, and what could be some points of, getting on a level where we can actually advance and not focus on differences, but focus on common development, common values, and so on. So educating ourselves on these things is important too. And there is a relationship between that and the sort of inner consciousness development, because the inner consciousness development is using the overlapping neural pathways as interpersonal relationships. So if you can kind of calm your own nervous system and train it in the desirable directions, then your ability to also deal with other people in a constructive way that could be potentially collaborative in a conscious way, then there's the touch point there between the two. Okay. Also, one other thing is that you can have basically not only education, but taking action based upon what you've learned and where you are at in your own development. So based upon X stage, could you then take, Y action, and put people in groups depending on how they're able to best collaborate. So there's a lot of room for technology there, but also just for basic human, interaction there. So keeping it real, keeping a healthy mixture of the sort of synthetic developments, as well as just leveraging what we know, our gut intuition, our heart intuition, those things. AI, it's very hard to know whether AI has those or not, and we should hold a very high bar, in my humble opinion, about those kinds of things. Well, it's overdue to have a beneficial AI and a beneficial AGI conference. I think it's been something that has been in the making collectively, and now it's really time for people to get together and figure things out. So this conference is exciting because you're going to have sort of a conventional conference aspect and also a non-conventional, so more like an unconference, where there's going to be more kind of sort of semi-structured dialogues around and conversations around how to actually grapple with and solve and resolve some of these outstanding issues that the conference came to existence in the first place to be able to address. So this is going to be a unique conference. It's going to be the first. I have as many questions as I have answers about this, because it's the first one, and I'm excited. And I think the idea really is to show up and let yourself be vulnerable, let yourself learn how to unlearn things, and see where this can really go. This is really like a litmus test. It's also the foundation. It's also the prototyping. It's intended to be a co-creative thing, right? So let's see how it goes. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too.